Good morning. This is Siva Devaki from MassMailer. Thank you so much for joining the webinar today, and Happy New Year to you all. This is the very first webinar this year, and we'll continue to have this every Thursday as usual. There's a little break for a few weeks during the holiday, but I promise that I'm going to continue now. Once again, every Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific, we have this webinar. Um, so today I'm going to talk about the license types. In the latest release of MassMailer, you would actually see this differentiation when it comes to the user license type and also what all features that specific user can or cannot access. And again, not everyone may have noticed this, but I think it's good to kind of go through this like a feature wise. That way, in the future, if at all you want to add more licenses, you would know exactly each one of the user what they can and cannot do. I think so far most of the users have been kind of on full access. Some of them had the read only, but we never had the real feature implemented. So pretty much everyone was having the full access. And some of them were admins, some of them were non-admins, but admins didn't really have like a way to control. Basically, this feature set was not implemented in the previous version, even though we had a high level terminology for all of them that was floated around, saying that, hey, if you're a Salesforce admin, only then you should use the setup. That was more like saying to the customers. But in this particular release, we have actually implemented the license type feature. And again, going forward, this will continue, and we'll continue to add more license types. As and when we get the feedback, I'll maybe give you a kind of a tiny bit of an information once we go through the current demo and the presentation. So just to kind of highlight what we have right now in this release, it's almost baked in, maybe everything is kind of in place. But I think in the next release, you will see more things around this. But let's just go through what we have right now as of today. So three types of licenses that you may have noticed. That's the admin user, MassMailer admin user, MassMailer full access user, MassMailer read-only access user. But at a high level, if you want to kind of understand what user can or cannot do, so the admin user can access every single feature in MassMailer, meaning all the tabs and everything. There's no restriction there. And then the full access user can access everything except the MassMailer setup tab. The difference being, we recommend either a system admin or a cloned admin from Salesforce, or there are certain permissions that are needed, such as the metadata API access, especially, need to be there. And they need to have certain features such as ability to create users and whatnot. So even if you do not have like a full-fledged Salesforce admin, that's okay. There are certain permissions that profile need to have, even if you have a cloned system admin. But make sure that that person has ability to access all the Meta API. That's very important. And then ability to create the users is also important. Ability to assign the licenses. There's a certain admin, permission set that need to be available for that particular user, who can be the MassMailer admin user as well. And full access user, Can access everything except the MassMailer setup tab. So the difference, why we have to differentiate, because sometimes you may have a Salesforce CRM user. They're not system admins. They don't have access to, configure stuff and everything, and you do not want others to mess up the MassMailer setup. So we strongly recommend, even if you have some Salesforce admin users, for the namesake, they have admin profile, but you do not want them to be the MassMailer admin, then make them as just the full access user, but do not provide them the MassMailer admin user. So the MassMailer admin user can access a MassMailer setup tab, and you don't want anyone else to really change the MassMailer configuration. Have a highly controlled approach there, because we've seen customers getting confused because setup tab is accessible by everyone, and some other user goes and then changes the password, or maybe they change something in the setup, that would mess up the overall configuration. So it's very important to designate the respective users, who can be the MassMailer admin and who can be just the full access user. So it's quite simple to enable that, though I'll show you how to do it. So that's the main difference between the admin user and the full access user. And the read-only access user, as the name denotes, they can only look at the MassMailer data and the reports. At a high level, that's what it means. They can't really do anything that's create, edit kind of a thing when it comes to the read-only access. And I got full feature set that I'm going to go through in the next slide, but just kind of visualize somebody who has been assigned the MassMailer read-only access user cannot send emails, they cannot create templates, they cannot do anything that is create, edit, clone, delete kind of things in MassMailer, especially when it comes to MassMailer data. They can only look at the reports, kind of a thing, but you know they don't have anything other than that. They don't have access to anything else. And I got the full level details here. I highlighted only the read-only user access permissions here, because the rest of the two is quite easy to comprehend, because there's only one difference between the admin user and the full access user, right? So the read-only access user, what is that they can do? So the tabs that they can use and the features that they can use, basically, they can use the MassMailer tab. Rather, they can click on MassMailer, the app, and they can get into the MassMailer app. If they click on certain tabs, they will receive an warning message, or a message saying that you do not have access to use this tab. For example, if they are trying to send an email, they click on MassMailer Outreach Wizard, it'll give an error saying that you do not have access to send emails, or access that particular tab. So the tabs that they can really get into the MassMailer outreaches. Um, Again, they can only view the outreaches, meaning the email campaigns that were sent out, but they can't really delete, or they cannot clone or edit outreaches. Also, they cannot export the outreach result. They cannot add them to a new campaign. They cannot email the results. So anything that's to do with the data, they can only look at the data, but they cannot really do anything. And if there is something that is missing from our side, feel free to give us a feedback, and we'll quickly implement that. Again, we did get some feedback in the past couple of days, and we already implemented them. So anything that's missing out by chance, feel free to let us know, and happy to quickly fix and send a patch. And when it comes to the verification, the same thing. They can look at the verification jobs and the verification status values. There's no problem because it's important for them to kind of look at the data as well. We're going to shut off the email verify feature. We did notice a small glitch there, but that's going to be fixed very soon. So they won't be able to verify emails as well, the read-only users. Um, and then suppression list, again, they can look at the suppression list records, but they can't delete or they cannot add the suppression list. That's not possible. So basically, they can look at the data. They can't do anything with the suppression list again. Same thing with list views, MassMailer list views. They can only look at the MassMailer list views, but they cannot edit, delete, or clone the list views. They can't really, they can preview the data, that's not a problem. But we're going to even stop them downloading. I think that's something which has been given as a feedback. And also, they can't really send emails from the list view. So those things are all shut off. So they basically, they can only look at the list views and preview the data. Okay. And unsubscribe groups, the same thing. They can't really do anything other than just looking at the unsubscribe groups. And reports, of course, they can look at the reports. We're not really shut off a report export feature because of standard Salesforce. So that's something that you will have to kind of work from your side if you really wanted them to export the data or not. That's on you because it's a standard report functionality. But they will be able to look at MassMailer reports and they can customize reports if needed. That's not a problem as long as you provide them the access for the respective reports in the folder. They can pretty much do what you can do with the MassMailer reports. So basically, reports can be accessed by the read-only access user. Um, and what else? And how do you really assign the license type, or how do you even assign the licenses? So in the new latest version, when you go to MassMailer setup, and then users sub tab that you see, which is new. There is a way to assign the license. You will see the actual user who is having access to MassMailer and the license type, and whether that user is an admin, MassMailer admin or not an admin. You can select that, and you can edit, delete. You can assign multiple users. The basic things that you really have to do, or rather can do, is what has been given on this particular page. Quite easy to comprehend. As you can see, the license type is given. And if that full access user is also a MassMailer admin, yeah, you just check the flag that that person is an admin. And read only cannot be an admin, obviously, so that option won't be available. But the admin, non admin, is available only for the full access user. So in the drop down, you will only see two options: full access user or read only. But the admin is going to be a separate flag for the full access user. So that's kind of a very simple thing. And we may not stop right here, meaning we may have more license types down the line, such as email author kind of license, who may be able to access the template builder, right? So that's kind of feedback that we are still capturing. That way, there could be a price difference, and you can take the advantage of the price difference if you needed somebody, which is kind of quite common to see nowadays. That there are people who are actually just drafting emails, and they're not really sending emails, but they're just drafting emails, but they want to give them access to the template builder alone. That way they can create the templates kind of a thing. So right now they still have to have a full access user, but as and when we get the feedback And if you think it makes sense, different price and everything, we're happy to put in an effort. That's one feedback that we got so far. And the community users, again, so community users may or may not need a separate license type though. We're still debating on that. It could be, one of the full access user, read only user kind of a thing based on what Salesforce lets them let the community users really do. But there could be a different pricing tier for the community users. Again, as in when we get customers really asking for that, we'll come up with the right pricing and the right feature set. Technically, it is possible today also. Community users can access MassMailer. It's possible technically. Again, as and when you think that may be required in your own company, feel free to let us know. So just a quick pricing difference. This will be published on our website. I mean, even though it is available for full access, read-only access user right now, we're going to add one more tier just to kind of clarify that, hey, admin user is nothing but a full access user plus the ability to access MassMailer setup tab, provided they have all the necessary permissions from Salesforce platform perspective itself. The pricing is the same for the admin user and the full access user, $49.99. But the read-only access user is a one-fourth of the price, $12.49 per user per month. This is just to kind of highlight, where it is, the pricing wise. So if you have not taken an advantage for the read-only user, and if you think this would be something useful in your company, feel free to let us know. Happy to help you activate the read-only access. Something that needs to be done in the backend. So we will have to work with you initially in this release just to get things set up. But in the next release, it'll be 100% self-service, meaning you'll be able to do everything on your own. And then quick kind of a demo. So what I logged in right now is the admin user. So if I take you to the setup, being an admin, I'm able to access the setup tab, and this is the user tab where you can actually, add any user, and then the license type will only show full access user, read-only access user. And again, I'm just going to go select this, even though I'm not going to save this. So assume that this is a real user, not a integration user, as I'm showing it here. You can activate or you can enable this person as an admin. That's possible. But if it is read-only, then there's no way you can make that person as an admin. So basically, that's how simple it is. That you can select the user and then select the license type. If it's a full access user, you have an option to select that person as an admin. But behind the scenes, we're going to check for the permissions just to let you know. We'll warn you just in case if that user does not have enough administrative permissions. We're going to warn you that that person does not have those permissions. And it'll be written in an article or configuration guide that we are working on, to let you know what all permissions are required for a MassMailer admin. But if currently you have Salesforce system admin, blindly you can assign that Salesforce system admin MassMailer admin permission set, or even if it's a cloned one, you should be able to do it. It's very rare to see the cloned system admin does not have the Meta API or certain platform features that are required. So that's it, and easy to add users. You can just go delete if you wanted. You can edit if you wanted. You can reassign the license to someone else, but make sure that you click on the save button. Even though the few things that are coming in the next release, this is good enough to start at least in this release. You can. You don't have to worry about the permission set. That's something that we take care automatically. And also assigning the license happens behind the scenes. So you don't really have to go to the Salesforce setup, and then assign the license from there. So this is in a way assigning the license from Salesforce perspective, and also the actual MassMailer license type also is tied together. So everything is done in one page. That way it becomes quite easy. If you are a growing company and if you're purchasing more MassMailer licenses, it's very easy to handle the licensing now in MassMailer. Okay, so that's where it is. When it comes to the full access user with the administrative access, that's what you could do. And rest, as you know, can be accessible, no problem. And now I'm gonna just log out and then quickly show you. If you were to log in as a um, full access user, so I'll just go select a full access user, but not an admin. So this user does not have the administrative permission from MassMailer. So if you go click on the MassMailer setup, um, and then it's going to give you a message that you do not have access to MassMailer setup. So basically, the full access user can access other tabs, like a person who can send emails, but there's a restriction on MassMailer setup tab that full access user cannot access the MassMailer setup. So that's pretty much it about the full access user. And now if you look at the read only, um, I'm going to go log in again as a read only user. Okay, so again, the app access is given, as you can see. The application is loading for the read-only user, so that permission is enabled by default. But if you go to the setup as a read-only user, you will be given an error. Again, you don't have access to that particular tab. Same thing with the Outreach Wizard. You will see that there's a message that pops up. And the template builder, the same thing, it'll pop up a message. But the outreaches, the read-only user can access the outreach, but they can't really go delete anything. They can, of course, go look at the outreach, and then they can look at the data as well. So meaning if they want to go look at the opens, they can take a look at it. But as you can see, we restricted the export email functionality, and also they cannot add them to a different campaign. So they can pretty much look at the data. Um, and then same thing with the other tabs. Some tabs they can access and some they cannot. Email monitor they cannot. And then they can also look at the other tabs such as verify status. These tabs they can access, and they can access all these tabs in fact, but they can't really do anything there, deletion and all that. Even the suppression list view, they can look at the suppression list view, no problem, but they cannot do anything beyond that. um, no actions available. So basically they can pretty much look at the data. Same thing with the reports. They can access the reports as well, the MassMailer reports. In Okay, I think the folder has not been shared with this particular user, the MassMailer folder. I think that could be the reason why it's not showing. That's something that we're gonna, I mean, either we could package it, or you could actually open up the reports to the to this user. That's something that can be done from like a administrative perspective within Salesforce itself. So that's basically what it means for a read-only access user. And again, this feature that we have implemented is going to continue to evolve. It's not stopping here. As and when we get a feedback from you, hey, we want to enable, disable, so and so things, we can take up those feature set and implement. But the good news is that in the upcoming releases that we are working on, there's a granular enable disable feature that we are implementing, meaning for certain users, you'll be able to like enable disable features based on what you think would be necessary. That's coming. Again, we are setting the infrastructure around. Slowly, we are adding stuff to it. I mean, so far, let's say all the full access users are able to access everything. But the feedback that we received is, hey, great, we have full access users able to do everything, but we really don't want them to do so and so things. How do we do that? Since it's a MassMailer feature, how do we really turn off so and so buttons or features? We're working on that. That's something that we already laid the foundation. First was the having a license type was important. That's released pretty much I would say is the first version. But in the upcoming versions, we also started enabling that a product feature configuration to a level where you can actually turn on and turn off certain features globally right now, but that will be enhanced eventually to the profile level and the user level as well. So we are taking one step at a time. That way, you get more control on what your users can and cannot see. You can actually enable or disable certain features yourself, so that that UI or any feature configuration settings can be done by you within your own organization based on your needs. So that's kind of a roadmap where we are going. I just want to kind of give you heads up on that as well. And so I think that kind of covers pretty much. But again, feel free to give us a feedback. I know it's not like 100% complete. Um, you know, as and when we get the feedback, we are like trying to find out anything that we missed out or anything that needs to be tweaked a little bit here and there. We are doing that. For an example, the other day we were working with a customer. They said, "Hey, we don't want person to really email and export the data. Can you restrict that?" We quickly realized that, hey, that's true. Read-only users should not be able to export the data, and then we kind of like shut it off. So that kind of feedback I think is very valuable. If you can please play around and then give us a feedback, that would be very, very helpful for all of us. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar. This is a weekly webinar that runs on Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific during the season. And you will receive an email if you are in our database and not unsubscribed. But you can also look at our website and some social channels where we publish our weekly webinar information. All the videos are posted to the YouTube. We are working on kind of syncing up our website as well with the YouTube videos. But like nevertheless, if you are receiving emails from us, you will receive a recording for this before next week, whenever we are going to send out the next email. Um, and if you have any questions, feel free to contact us. My email address, my company email address is right here. Or if you have any questions right now, feel free to put it in the chat window. Yeah, thanks, Mark, for the for the feedback there. So editor only license, yeah, certainly. That's something in the roadmap, the editor only license. Again, we needed to kind of formalize what all other things may be necessary, such as like like let's say editor type, editor license type. Maybe the template builder, maybe email monitor should be included. So kind of a thing. Anything that something to do with the template is necessary. Um, if you don't mind dropping an email, what all sub features that editor type license should be having, we can consolidate that, and then certainly include that feature down the line in the upcoming release. Okay. Once again, thank you so much for joining the webinar today. We'll see you next week. Take care. Have a great day. Bye bye.